Hello there, and in this video we've hit disaster. I was going to do a simple little job today on VEP. I changed the gearbox oil last year, and when I did, I didn't change the little crush washer, and it's been leaking a tiny little bit of gearbox oil ever since. And prior to FOTU, because it's been on my mind, I just wanted to get it sorted out. Well, unfortunately, we have a new discovery that might mean we don't make it to FOTU. I just fired VEP up to move it and I thought it smelled strange. I've got petrol absolutely pissing out of that pump. It's going everywhere. I knew it didn't smell right. I don't know where that's coming out of. Oh, bloody hell. So let me show you what I'm going on about. So VEP has mechanical fuel injection. So that's that filter that Kitch had to install all those years ago to help catch the rust, and that there is the lifter pump. And at the moment it looks nice and dry, doesn't it? That's because the petrol that's there has evaporated. I'll fire VEP back up very briefly and show you what's happening. Yeah, I mean, I've just given the screws a tweak, but I don't think I can trust that. I definitely need to order a new seal kit before Festival of the Unexceptional. But I'm not mad about it. If anything, I think that was a lucky catch. It would have been very easy on Saturday morning to have just wheeled this car out of the garage, done no pre-checks, driven to FOTU and had a fire. So I'm glad I did a bit of due diligence today. That's probably saved that car from disaster. Yeah, just quickly moved it back in the garage, having sorted my little gearbox gremlin out, and yeah, it's wet with petrol back there and down there. So yeah, we're a no-go for FOTU until I can change the seals in that and stop it from leaking. So it's the Friday before FOTU, and very luckily I've managed to source not one but two replacement fuel pumps, and I'm going to show you them now and explain which one of the two I'm going to wind up fitting. So the first pump is this Quinton Hazel one. It's all metal, seems to be reasonably well made, but it doesn't look much like the later pump designs that I've seen. So I think it will probably be okay. But like I say, to be honest with you, I'm a little bit dubious. I mean, there's no country of origin on it or anything like that. I'm going to keep it in the car as a spare, but I don't think this is the one at this stage that I'm going to fit. And the reason I'm not going to fit the Quinton Hazel pump is because the other one, basically this is a Sofabex pump. And I believe, although you may not be able to see it upside down there, maybe I'll be able to do some form of clever video trickery swappery. But that's a Sofabex pump as well. So that's the OE manufacturer for the pumps for these engines originally. So it is unusual that I would choose a plastic part over a metal part, but this looks altogether more like what I've seen in other people's engine bays as well, sort of when I've seen these cars with later variants of these pumps. So this is what I'm going to fit anyway. First thing I need to do though is I'm going to get that fuel filter cleaned back out because it's full of crap, and then we'll get the old one out. I'm not going to film every stage of this today because, like I say, it's the Friday before FOTU and I've got a couple of hours to make sure this car is viable before I have to decide whether or not to give up altogether and just take the XC60 instead. So, as I say, I need to crack on, get all this to bits, and then see if this pump's viable. Just see all the rubbish sitting in the bottom of there. Lovely. There you go, that'll give you a better view of how much crap and sediment I'm still getting in the fuel system. I'm not entirely convinced, by the way, that is still from a deceased sender. I wonder whether we're getting a bit of rust maybe from the filler neck or even from the metal fuel pipes that run towards the front of the car. So it's going to need investigation at some point in the future. But like I say, there's no point whacking a nice new pump on whilst and then running the risk of this crud running straight into it, so I may as well make as much effort as possible to get that clean before we fit the new pump. There you go, a better view of it. It's almost like a fine rust paste. I do think the particles of it are getting finer as we go along, but it's definitely not ideal to be still having that going through the system. There we go, that's that fuel filter all cleaned up and looking a lot better. Obviously when I come to do the initial tests with the fuel pump, it's going to take a lot longer to crank because there's no fuel primed in that system, but that's fine. Right, let's get this old pump off, shall we? There we go, that's those two hoses disconnected, and obviously I've managed to get petrol absolutely everywhere in the process. Yay! So now I've just got to get at these two, I think the 13mm bolts, top and bottom, get those undone, and then this should just pull straight off. Now getting to that bottom bolt, I don't know if you can see it or not, getting to that bottom bolt down there is proving to be fun, so I'm going to see if I can use my little 13mm stubby on the job. Right, I've just put the top bolt back in because I realised this entire thing is spring loaded, and I got the top one out, the easy one, and when I was farting around on the bottom one, this entire thing was springing forwards, and I realised I'd probably wind up losing the bolt somewhere where I can't find it. So I think when I come to put it back together, I will push it down and then just get that one in first, just to make it easier to reinstall. But yeah, otherwise it would have meant losing the bolt somewhere down there, which I'm sure I could retrieve it from eventually, but if we can avoid that, then it'll obviously be better. There we go, bottom bolt is now out. Let's get that top one out again now. Well, that's the top bolt out, so it now should just be a case, hopefully, of just withdrawing this straight out. There you go, look, yeah, you can probably see the little cam bit that it sits on. So I just need to compare this now with the pump I've got and make sure that the dimensions look roughly the same. Right then, I think I might be suffering from another case of it's an early one syndrome here. So that's the original pump that's come out of VEP as it stands at the moment, and these are the two replacements. And the one thing I've noticed is that the plunger section seems noticeably longer on the replacements. Now it could just be that that's worn, you know what I mean, and is compressed more, but I'm not so sure about that, because if you look, that is sitting almost flush with the end of that spring, look, whereas these two have got a fairly significant protrusion, which makes me wonder if these parts are in fact not compatible with the car. I might see how it feels like it's going to fit. It could just be that there is more movement on these, but yeah. I think FOTU is starting to look more doubtful again, sadly. Yeah, I just did a quick test fit on both of them, and once they're pushed all the way down to the end of their travel on the spring, there's probably still a gap about that wide. So there's no way at the moment as it stands that they're going to fit on there. Maybe it's a case of needing a spacer, I don't know. I have just posted a message in the BX Club Facebook forum just to see if anybody can give me an answer, but FOTU is looking out for the BX. So I've just loosely put everything back together for now. I'll probably put a note in the car to say do not start, because the fuel system and everything's only very loosely connected. It's just to stop dirt and stuff getting in where it don't need to be. What I have just done is I've just got off the phone to Stuart at Euro Car Care in Derby. Now, I've known Stuart for years. He used to look after my 205s and my ZXs and stuff, and my dad's BX 16 valve. So I had a quick chat with him. He's done a little bit of a lookup for me on these later parts, and they do indeed require a spacer. I have that spacer number. I'm going to go away and have a look at that, see if I can source one. There is also a spacer that looks very similar in size and dimension for the GS and GSA, and I wonder if it's actually the same one. So I might just order one of those anyway on the off chance that it's going to fit. But in the meantime, I will do some digging around for the proper BX part number. Chances are there's probably also a part I can look up for on a 405 or a 305 or whatever, so I'll do the same. I mean, that's how I figured out what wheel bearings this car needed. In the end, I wound up getting all the dimensions off the 305, which is what this, ultimately I think is what this platform was derived from in the first place. And that was how I sort of worked my way backwards and solved my really early part problem. So yeah, that's where I am with this. It does mean that we're not doing Festival of the Unexceptional, which is a big shame. I think we'll probably go. I think I'll probably go in the XC60 to be honest with you, because that needs a wheel bearing quite desperately at the moment. So we'll probably take the XC60 and just tuck it in the car park with the moderns, which is disappointing. But hey ho, maybe I'll use this as an excuse to finally get around and fit the dash cam that I've bought to go in that car. But yeah, like I say, that's where we are with this for now. Anyway, I will pick this video up when I have managed to locate some form of spacer mabob. So it's actually the weekend after FOTU, and yeah, I didn't make it, basically, as you probably saw in the last clip. I have managed, after doing a little bit of research though, to locate what I think is the right spacer. Really struggled to find any reference to the Citroen part at all, but I have bought something else which I'm hoping might fit. And here's the part in question. So it's an L-ring spacer, and I think when I looked this up, I will include the part number on screen, it was for a Ford Pinto, or a Ford Pinto engine, but I'm guessing that these mountings were fairly common back in the day. I did find somebody that used one of these, or looked to use one of these, I think on a Saab as well at some point. I've messaged Kitch and he seems to think that looks roughly right. I'm just going to sort of offer it up to the base of the pump and the block shortly and see if it all fits. First thing I need to do, of course, is take all that out because I put it all back loosely together to stop any dirt getting in. Yeah, looks like it was a case of very nearly but not there. The centre diameter hole is not big enough to accommodate the centre part of either pump, because it's got to fit flush with that plate. Now, I've just tried it on the Quinton Hazel pump, and as you can see, it's not going to go over. Yeah, much the same story on the Sofa Bex pump. The hole in the spacer is not large enough to accommodate the shaft of the pump. Yeah, I've taken one of the gaskets, and I think that illustrates the problem quite nicely. I might be able to modify that, but it'd probably do better, I think, just to either find the right pump in the first place or find the correct spacer. Boom. Yeah, I think at this stage I'm seriously considering just getting a new old stock part. I found one for sale in France, and that might be a better bet because I probably already spent between sort of two different pumps and seals, probably the better part of 100 quid, and I have nothing that fits. So yeah, I'm going to see if I can cross-reference that number and find an appropriate new pump that's got that same stroke on it that I can just fit straight on the block, I reckon, rather than wasting any more time and money. Yeah, at this rate we won't be going to Rustable either. You know, I said we weren't modifying it. We're modifying it. What do you mean you people aren't sitting in your garden at the moment trying to file the centre bore of a fuel pump spacer in the vain hopes that you can make it fit a Mark 1 Citroen BX? God, you people are weird. So it took about, I don't know, a good half an hour worth of very careful filing, and I have now managed to expand that centre bore to make that spacer fit. Now I do own a Dremel, and I probably could have done it with a Dremel in moments, but to be honest with you, I've never touched anything with a Dremel that hasn't instantly been destroyed afterwards. So yeah, I went with the gently approach and just sort of slowly filed it out. Unfortunately, I have impacted the gasket a little bit in the process. I'll probably flip this so that that's on the back side of this pump, but fingers crossed it's not going to cause too many problems. So yeah, what I need to do now is remove the old pump, and then I need to compare from the spacer basically where the plunger depth winds up, because if it's too long, all it's going to wind up doing is smashing the plunger straight through the top of the pump the moment to start the car. I think Kitch had this problem when he did VEP originally. I think he tried to he sent me a message saying he tried to fit a different fuel pump and ran into similar issues even with the spacer. So yeah, I'm going to go and get my ruler out, and we'll compare these and just see how they look. So I've taken a really good look at them, and after a bit of closer inspection I've come to the conclusion, hopefully, that with the spacer and the supplied gasket on the Sofabex pump, this gasket won't go this side, by the way, it'll go on the engine side, that it's going to work out at about the same sort of depth, which I think I worked out at roughly, I think it's 2.8 mil. See if I can get that on camera. 2.8 or 28 mil. Or 2.8 centimeters roughly, you know, it's within a millimeter. So I think I'm going to try the Sofabex pump. The Quinton Hazel is within the same sort of tolerance as well, so you know, if one doesn't work I might try the other, but I've come this far, I may as well just try it now and see what happens. So this is on, but I don't know whether it's going to wind up being a long-term solution, because as you can see, those bolts are not all that brilliantly engaged on those threads with that spacer in place. I mean, they're in, don't get me wrong, they're in, but not as much as I would like. Right, so it's all together. I've had to subtly adjust how the fuel filter is currently held. It was being held sort of there, but unfortunately the outlets from this are a tiny bit shorter, so I've had to pull everything that way in order to accommodate it. I think it might be a little bit longer, although not significantly longer. Oh no, they are a bit longer on the Quinton Hazel pump, so if I run into any problems I might swap over. But yeah, I think all we can do now is give this a try and see what happens. It's going to take a bit of cranking because it's I clean the fuel filter in it as well, so actually, before I do anything, I might just have a look and see if that's drawn any fuel through yet. Well, that's promising. It's drawn fuel through there. I can check it for leaks now as well, actually, before going any further. So it is drawing petrol through, so that's a good start. Let's check for any petrol leaks anywhere. Not seen any. So, okay, right. Well, I now know we're getting petrol through, and I mean, it filled that really quickly. Let's keep cranking and see what it does. Kitch did say to me, I think he tried this with another pump and it immediately destroyed it, even with the spacer, so let's hope that's not what happens to me. Might need to pump the throttle. I wanted to do it whilst outside the car ideally, so that I could keep an eye out for leaks, but I don't think I'm going to get to do it that way. Okay, let's run in. The question is it going to stay running? And are we going to have any leaks? Oh, that's squeaking. Look at that. Seems to be working. I can't see anything leaking at the moment. Okay, we'll pull it forward then, I think, and have a look outside. Well, it looks like it's going so far anyway. Whether that's enough petrol going through there or not, I'm not sure, but I'm going to let it idle for a bit and just see if it behaves, see if there's any leaks or any problems. Right, we're just going to take it for a drive now and see how it behaves. I want to do a mixture of driving, a little bit of local, a little bit of dual carriageway, just to make sure that that fuel pump's strong enough. And you know where I'm probably going to wind up going, don't you? So yeah, let's see what happens. Oh, hellfire! Lucky, lucky, lucky boy! Sorry, no power steering. I always forget, everything else I've got is big Volvos, so every time I drive this it's a shock.
Yeah, but it's proper drive.
So there we go, I've been out for a drive in it and everything seems to be a-okay. Fuel pump doesn't seem to be leaking. I'm slightly concerned that's not filling up with quite as much petrol as it should be, but it has driven here okay, so hopefully that means we're sorted. Anyway, I'm going to close this video out for now. Thank you very much for watching. Please do consider subscribing before you go, and I will see you in another one, which will probably be, hopefully, when I take this car to Rustaville in a couple of weeks. Cheerio!